Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the broken machine. The main power generator for New Haven Colony had been acting up for weeks. Now it was completely dead. He kicked the metal housing and immediately regretted it when pain shot through his foot. "Still not working?" asked Dr. Lisa Park as she walked into the generator room. Her medical coat was dirty from helping repair the water systems earlier that morning. "Nothing I do helps," Jake said. He was tired. Being in charge of 3,000 people on a world that seemed to hate humans was not easy. Every day brought new problems. The air scrubbers needed fixing, the food production units kept breaking down, and now the power was failing. New Haven Colony sat on a rocky world at the edge of human space. The colonists had been there for 5 years, trying to mine rare metals from the ground. The work was hard and dangerous. The planet had violent storms that could tear apart buildings. The air was thin and needed machines to make it safe to breathe. Lisa looked at the dead generator with worry in her eyes. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 2 days before the life support systems shut down completely," Jake said. "The backup power won't last long." Outside, the wind was getting stronger. Jake could hear it howling through the colony's metal corridors. Another storm was coming. The weather on this world changed fast and without warning. The colonists had learned to fear the sound of rising wind. Jake walked to the main control room where his assistant, Pete Rogers, was trying to fix the communications system. Pete was young but good with machines. His hands moved quickly over the broken circuits. "Any luck getting a message out?" Jake asked. Pete shook his head. "The solar flare yesterday fried most of our long-range equipment. I can barely get local signals working." Jake felt his heart sink. Without communications, they could not call for help. The nearest human settlement was 6 months away by the fastest ship. Even if they could send a message, help would not arrive in time. "Keep trying," Jake said. "Send out a general distress signal on all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." The next day was worse. The backup power was failing faster than expected. The air in the colony was getting stale. People were starting to panic. Jake called a meeting in the main hall. "We all know the situation," he told the crowd of worried faces. "The power is almost gone. We have maybe 1 day left before the air becomes too dangerous to breathe." A woman named Amy Foster stood up. She worked in the mining section and was not afraid to speak her mind. "What are you going to do about it?" she demanded. "We're doing everything we can," Jake said. "Pete is still trying to get the communications working. Our repair teams are looking for spare parts. We haven't given up." But privately, Jake was losing hope. He had sent teams to check every storage room and workshop. There were no spare parts for the main generator. The machine was too old and too badly damaged. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the quiet corridors of the colony. The emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. In the distance, he could hear the hum of the dying life support systems getting weaker. He found Lisa in the medical bay, checking on the children. Many families had come to New Haven hoping for a better life. Now those children might not live to see their next birthday. "Still no word from Pete?" Lisa asked quietly. Jake shook his head. "The communications system is completely dead. We're on our own." The next morning brought terrible news. The main life support system had shut down during the night. The colony was now running on emergency power that would last only hours, not days. The air was already getting thick and hard to breathe. Jake was in the control room when Pete suddenly shouted with excitement. "I got something. There's a ship out there." "Human ship?" Jake asked, rushing to Pete's side. Pete frowned at his instruments. "No, the signals are all wrong. It's not human technology, but it's responding to our distress call." Jake felt fear and hope fighting in his chest. Unknown aliens could mean rescue or death. He had heard stories of hostile species in this part of space, but with only hours left before the colony died, any chance was better than none. "Tell them we need help," Jake ordered. "Send them everything we have about our situation." The alien ship arrived 6 hours later. Jake watched through the observation deck as a strange vessel landed outside the colony. It was smooth and silver, shaped like nothing humans had ever built. The design was beautiful but completely foreign. The airlock opened and 3 figures walked out. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. They wore simple robes and moved with grace that seemed almost like dancing. Jake had never seen anything like them. The leader of the aliens approached the colony entrance. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, but Jake could understand her words through the translation device she carried. I am Veltar of the Kitharan research vessel. We received your distress call. Our people do not usually interfere with younger species, but we cannot watch you die when we have the power to help. Jake felt tears in his eyes. Can you really save us? Veltar nodded. We can restore your power systems, but it will use all of our ship's energy reserves. We will be stranded here until we can recharge. That could take weeks, said one of her companions. The High Council will not approve of this action. Veltar looked at Jake and the desperate faces of the colonists watching from behind the windows. Sometimes what is right is more important than what is approved. For 3 weeks, the Kitharan ship sat outside New Haven colony. Veltar and her crew worked day and night to repair the human systems. They shared their advanced technology freely. They asked for nothing in return. Lisa worked closely with Veltar during the repairs. The alien woman was intelligent and kind. She seemed genuinely interested in human culture and asked many questions about Earth and the colonies. Why are you helping us? Lisa asked one day as they worked together on the air recycling system. Because it is the right thing to do, Veltar said simply. Life is precious, no matter what form it takes. We cannot stand by and watch innocent people die. When the repairs were finished, the Kitharan ship prepared to leave. Veltar came to say goodbye to Jake in his office. You have saved us all, Jake said. How can we ever repay you? Veltar smiled. No payment is needed. But know this, Jake Morrison. A life debt has been created between our peoples. We ask for nothing in return, but the Kithara remember those who show us kindness. Jake stood and offered his hand to the alien woman. We won't forget what you've done for us. If you ever need us, we'll be there. As the Kitharan ship lifted off into the starry sky, Jake watched until it disappeared. He did not know that Veltar would face punishment for helping the humans. He did not know that someday his promise would be tested in ways he could never imagine. 3 years had passed since the Kithara saved New Haven colony. Jake Morrison now managed 12 human settlements in the Outer Rim. Life was good. The colonies were growing, trade was increasing, and people were happy. But in a distant part of the galaxy, something dark was stirring. Veltar sat alone in her small room on mining station Omega-7. The walls were bare metal. The bed was hard. The food was simple. This was her life now, far from the beautiful world where she had been born. She thought about the trial often. The Kitharan High Council had been very angry when she returned home. They called her actions dangerous interference and violation of our most sacred laws. The punishment was exile from Kitharan space forever. You have brought shame to our people, the chief council member had said during the trial. The younger races must learn to survive on their own. We cannot save them all. Veltar had stood straight and proud as they stripped away her rank and honors. I saved innocent lives, she had said. I will not apologize for that. Now she worked as a simple technician, fixing mining equipment for whoever would pay her. It was lonely work, but she did not regret her choice. Sometimes she still dreamed about the grateful faces of the human colonists. Her quiet life changed the day Juntal arrived. Juntal had been her navigator during the rescue mission to New Haven. He was young for a Kithara, but very skilled at his job. He was also loyal to Veltar, even after her disgrace. I bring terrible news, Juntal said as he entered her small room. His usual calm was gone. Fear filled his large, dark eyes. What has happened? Veltar asked. The Zephyrians have attacked our border worlds, Juntal said. They came without warning. Coloron system is gone. All 3 colonies. Millions of our people are dead. Veltar felt cold fear in her heart. She had heard rumors about the Zephyrians. They were a machine-like race that conquered other worlds to take their resources. Their technology was advanced, and their methods were brutal. What does the High Council say? She asked. Juntal's face showed anger and frustration. They try to negotiate. They sent Ambassador Kelmorth to talk peace with the Zephyrian leaders. And the ambassador never returned. We think he is dead or captured. The Zephyrians keep attacking. They are not interested in peace. Over the following weeks, Juntao brought more bad news. The Zephyrian war machine was huge and unstoppable. Their ships could phase in and out of normal space, making them almost impossible to hit. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. The Cathara had advanced technology, but they were not warriors. For 1,000 years, their society had been peaceful. They had no experience with real war. Their military was small and designed only for defense. Military Commander Voran pleaded with the High Council to fight back with everything they had. The Cathara possessed weapons that could match the Zephyrians, but the Council refused to use them. "We will not become monsters to fight monsters," the Council declared. There must be another way. But there was no other way. The Zephyrian advance continued. System after system fell to their invasion fleets. Refugee ships filled with frightened families fled deeper into Catharan space, but there were fewer safe places to go. Juntao showed Veltar images from the attacked worlds. The destruction was complete. Cities were turned to ash. Forests were burned. Rivers were poisoned. The Zephyrians took everything useful and left dead rocks behind. "They do not just want to conquer us," Juntao said. "They want to erase us completely." Veltar studied the tactical reports Juntao had smuggled to her. The situation was hopeless. The Catharan military was losing every battle. Their peaceful nature made them hesitate when they should strike hard. The enemy had no such weakness. "How? Long before they reach the homeworld?" Veltar asked. "Military intelligence says maybe 2 years," Juntao replied. "But I think less. The Zephyrians are moving faster than anyone expected." That night, Veltar could not sleep. She walked to the observation deck of the mining station and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, her people were dying while their leaders talked about principles and honor. She thought about the humans she had saved 3 years ago. Jake Morrison had promised that if the Cathara ever needed help, humanity would be there. At the time, she had thought it was just polite words. Humans were a young race with small ships and simple weapons. What could they do against the Zephyrian war machine? But humans were different from the Cathara in important ways. They knew how to fight. They had wars throughout their history. They understood that sometimes violence was the only answer to violence. The next day, Juntao brought the worst news yet. The Zephyrians had captured a major industrial world. Thousands of Catharan children had been taken as slaves. The enemy was not just destroying the Cathara, they were using them. "The High Council still believes negotiation will work," Juntao said bitterly. "They think the Zephyrians will eventually listen to reason." "The Zephyrians understand only strength," Veltar said. "Our leaders cannot see this because they have forgotten what strength looks like." That evening, Veltar made her decision. She broke into the station's small hangar and stole a fast courier ship. The station's security tried to stop her, but she was already lifting off when they reached the hangar. Juntao had left her the navigation codes for human space. The journey would take weeks, but she had to try. The Cathara were too proud to ask for help, but she was already in exile. She had nothing left to lose. As her stolen ship jumped to hyperspace, Veltar thought about the promise Jake Morrison had made. He had seemed like an honest man. But would the humans really risk their lives for an alien species they barely knew? The sea? Long journey gave her time to think. Maybe the humans would refuse to help. Maybe they would think the Cathara deserved their fate for being too weak to defend themselves. Maybe Jake Morrison had forgotten his promise. But she had to try. Her people were dying, and their leaders were too stubborn to do what was necessary. Someone had to ask for help, even if it meant admitting weakness. The courier ship's instruments showed her position. She was getting close to human space. Soon she would know if the debt created 3 years ago still meant something. In her heart, she hoped that humans were as loyal as they were grateful. Her people's survival might depend on it. Behind her, in Kithran space, the war continued. More worlds burned, more families died, and the High Council continued to believe that peace could be negotiated with an enemy that understood only conquest. Veltar pressed her ship's engines harder, racing against time and the advancing darkness that threatened to swallow her entire civilization. The alarms in New Haven's control center were loud and urgent. Jake Morrison ran from his office to see what was wrong. Pete Rogers was still at his communication station, but now he was older and more experienced. "What's the emergency?" Jake asked. "Unknown ship coming in fast," Pete said, his fingers moving over the controls. "It's broadcasting old colonial codes, but the ship design is not human." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. He remembered those codes. They were from 3 years ago, from the time when the colony nearly died. "Is it Catharan?" he asked. Pete nodded. "The ship's signature matches the research vessel that saved us." "But Jake, the ship is badly damaged. Life support is failing." "Clear landing bay 2, Jake ordered. "And get Dr. Lisa Park down there immediately." Jake ran through the corridors to the landing bay. He had not forgotten Veltar and her people. How could he? They had saved every life in the colony when no one else would help. The Kitharan courier ship landed hard. Smoke came from its engines. The hull was cracked in several places. This ship had traveled far and fast. The airlock opened, with a grinding sound. Veltar stumbled out and collapsed on the landing bay floor. She looked terrible. Her blue skin was pale, and her robes were torn and dirty. Dr. Lisa Park reached her first. Lisa had learned some basic Kitharan biology during the repairs 3 years ago. She quickly checked Veltar's vital signs. "She's exhausted and dehydrated," Lisa said. "But she'll live. Help me get her to the medical bay." Jake and 2 other colonists carried Veltar to Lisa's clinic. As they placed her on the medical bed, Veltar's eyes opened. She looked confused for a moment. Then she saw Jake's face. "Jake Morrison," she whispered. "You remember me?" "Of course I remember you," Jake said. "You saved all of us. What's wrong? Why are you here?" Veltar tried to sit up, but Lisa pushed her back down. "Rest first," Lisa said firmly. "Talk later." But Veltar grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. "My people are dying," she said. "The Zephyrians are destroying everything. The High Council will not fight properly. We need help." Jake felt cold fear run through him. He had heard stories about the Zephyrians. They were machine-like creatures that conquered and destroyed other races, if they were attacking the peaceful. "Kithara, the situation must be very bad." "Tell me everything," Jake said. Over the next hour, as Lisa treated her injuries, Veltar explained the war. The Zephyrians had already conquered half of Catharan space. Billions were dead. The Catharan military was losing every battle because they refused to fight with full force. "The High Council believes violence is never the answer," Veltar said. "But the Zephyrians only understand violence. Our peaceful nature is our weakness." Jake listened with growing anger. The Kithara had risked everything to save his colony. Now they were being destroyed by creatures that had no honor or mercy. "What do you need?" Jake asked. "Military help," Veltar said. "Your people understand war. You know how to fight enemies who show no mercy." Jake stood up. "I'll contact Earth immediately. The quantum communication system on New Haven could reach Earth in hours instead of months." Jake sent an emergency message to the Terran Federation Council. He explained the situation and requested immediate military assistance for the Kithara. The answer came back 12 hours later. It was not what Jake wanted to hear. "The Federation Council is concerned about getting involved in an alien war," the message said. "We need more information before making any decisions. A naval vessel will arrive to investigate." Jake was angry, but he understood the Council's position. Humans had their own problems. Getting involved in a galactic war was a big risk. 3. Days later, the Earth Navy ship Defiant arrived at New Haven. Captain Ben Rodriguez was a serious man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He brought a team of intelligence officers and military analysts. Captain Rodriguez interviewed Veltar for hours. She told him everything she knew about Zephyrian tactics, weapons, and strategy. She showed him images of destroyed worlds and refugee camps. "The situation is bad," Captain Rodriguez admitted to Jake after the interviews. "But we don't know if we can make a difference. The Zephyrians have superior technology in vast numbers." That evening, Rodriguez called a meeting with his senior officers. Jake was allowed to attend as the colonial administrator. The discussion was serious and detailed. Lieutenant Sarah Molina was the intelligence officer. She had studied all of Veltar's information. "The Zephyrians are definitely planning to expand beyond Catharan space," she reported. "Their long-range scouts have been spotted near several human colonies." Major Alex Thompson was the tactical officer. He looked at the strategic maps with worry. If they finish conquering the Cathara, we could be next. They seem to view all organic life as inferior. Captain Rodriguez studied the data carefully. The question is whether we can make a real difference. The Cathara have advanced technology, but no military experience. We have military experience, but older technology. Lieutenant Molina raised her hand. Sir, there's something else. Our communications intercepted Zephyrian tactical discussions. They refer to carbon-based life forms as infestation that needs to be cleansed. Earth appears on their target list. The room went silent. Jake felt his blood turn cold. The Zephyrians were not just attacking the Cathara, they were planning to destroy all organic life in this part of the galaxy. How long before they reach human space? Captain Rodriguez asked. If they maintain their current advance rate, maybe 2 years, Major Thompson replied. Less if they use their full fleet. Captain Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the colonists of New Haven were going about their daily lives. Children were playing in the streets. Families were having dinner together. None of them knew that a wave of destruction was heading their way. Captain, Jake said quietly, the Cathara saved us when we needed help. They risked everything for people they barely knew. Now they're facing extinction, and we're their only hope. Captain Rodriguez turned around. His face was hard, but his eyes showed determination. You're right. We owe them a debt. But more than that, if we don't help them now, we'll be fighting the Zephyrians alone later. The next day, Captain Rodriguez sent a long message to Earth. He recommended immediate military action to support the Cathara. He included all the intelligence data about Zephyrian plans to attack human space. The response came faster than anyone expected. Admiral Kate Sullivan, commander of the Third Fleet, would arrive within 2 weeks with a full battle group. The message was short but clear. We honor our debts and protect our future. Jake found Veltar in the medical bay, where she was recovering from her long journey. He sat beside her bed and took her hand. Help is coming, he said. The Earth Navy is sending warships. Veltar's eyes filled with tears. Your people will risk their lives for us? You risked your lives for us, Jake replied. A favor was owed. Now it's time to pay it back. Outside, the stars looked peaceful in the night sky. But Jake knew that soon those stars would witness the greatest battle in galactic history. Humanity was about to show the universe what happened to anyone who threatened their friends. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her flagship, the battleship Vengeance. Around her ship, 46 other human vessels moved through space in perfect formation. The Third Fleet had never looked so powerful. Admiral, we're approaching. The Telmora system, reported Commander Amy Foster from the weapons station. Long-range sensors are picking up massive Zephyrian activity. Kate had been fighting battles for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The Zephyrian fleet was huge. Hundreds of strange, angular ships filled the space around. 3 dead worlds. The planets that had once been home to millions of Cathara were now bare rock. My God, whispered Major Alex Thompson as he studied the tactical display. They strip-mined entire worlds. Captain Ryan Carter commanded the Vengeance's weapons systems. He was calm under pressure, which was good because they were about to face their biggest test. Admiral, the Zephyrian ships are using some kind of phase technology. They're flickering in and out of normal space. Kate had studied the intelligence. Reports. The Zephyrians could make their ships exist in multiple dimensions at once. Most weapons passed right through them without doing any damage. It was the secret to their military success. Good thing we brought the new toys, Kate said with a grim smile. The human fleet carried experimental weapons that had never been tested in real battle. Quantum phase torpedoes that could track targets through dimensional barriers. Particle beams that could lock onto phased ships. The weapons were dangerous and unpredictable, but they were the only chance of hurting the enemy. Captain, Lisa Chen commanded the destroyer Fury and 5 other fast ships. Her job was to hit and run, keeping the enemy confused while the heavy ships did the real fighting. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan, Kate announced over the fleet communication system. The Zephyrians have destroyed 3 Catharan worlds and killed billions of innocent people. They think their phase technology makes them untouchable. Today we proved them wrong. The Zephyrian fleet noticed the human ships and began to move. Their formation was perfect, like a machine. No wasted movement, no hesitation. They had conquered dozens of worlds using the same tactics. "Enemy ships are moving to intercept," reported the sensor officer. "Count is... My God, Admiral! Over 200 vessels." Kate felt her stomach tighten. The human fleet was outnumbered more than 4-1, but numbers were not everything in space combat. Strategy, courage, and superior weapons could overcome big odds. "All ships, weapons free," Kate ordered. "Target the lead elements. Show them what human engineering can do." The first Zephyrian ships phased out of normal space, expecting to pass through the human weapons like ghosts. Instead, they found quantum torpedoes following them through the dimensional barriers. 12 enemy ships exploded in the first salvo. "Direct hits," shouted Commander Foster. "The new torpedoes work." But the Zephyrians adapted quickly. They changed their formation and began focusing their fire on the human ships. Their weapons were powerful, and they had many more ships than the humans. The battle became a grinding exchange of devastating firepower. Captain Chen's destroyers darted between the enemy formations, firing missiles and drawing attention away from the heavier ships. Her tactics were brilliant, but several of her ships took serious damage. Captain Carter's weapons crews worked like machines. Every torpedo was aimed with deadly precision. Every particle beam found its target. But for every Zephyrian ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. "Admiral, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Major Thompson. "The destroyer Swift is gone. The cruiser Liberty has lost main power." Kate watched the tactical display with growing concern. The human fleet was fighting well, but they were still badly outnumbered. They needed something to break the deadlock. "Major Thompson," she said, "prepare boarding teams. We're going to take one of their command ships." Thompson looked surprised. "Admiral, boarding a phased ship is extremely dangerous. We don't know if our equipment will work in their dimensional state." "Then we'll find out," Kate said. "Pick your best Marines and get them ready." 20 minutes later, Major Thompson led 50 Marines in powered armor toward a damaged Zephyrian command vessel. The enemy ship was flickering between dimensions, making it hard to target. The Marines used special boarding pods that could follow the ship through its phase shifts. The pods crashed through the alien hull with grinding impacts. Thompson and his Marines found themselves in corridors designed for beings very different from humans. The walls were covered in strange machinery. The air was full of chemical smells. The Zephyrians inside the ship were like nothing the Marines had ever seen. They were tall and thin, with bodies that seemed to be part machine and part living tissue. Their movements were quick and precise, but they seemed confused by the human attack. "They're not used to close combat," Thompson reported over his radio. "Keep moving and stay aggressive." The Marines fought through the ship using tactics they had learned in training. Room by room, corridor by corridor, they pushed deeper into the vessel. The Zephyrians fought back with energy weapons and mechanical drones, but they seemed unprepared for the brutal efficiency of human soldiers. Thompson reached the command center and found something incredible. The ship's computers contained tactical information about the entire Zephyrian fleet, battle plans, ship positions, and most importantly, the location of their main armada. "Admiral Sullivan," he radioed, "we've hit the jackpot. I'm downloading their entire tactical database. Back on." The Vengeance. Kate received Thompson's information with excitement and horror. The Zephyrians had over 400 ships gathering at the Kithaeron homeworld. They were preparing for a final assault that would end the war. "We have to warn the Kithaera," Kate said, "and we need reinforcements, a lot of reinforcements." The battle for Tel Mora system continued for 6 more hours. When it was over, 31 Zephyrian ships were destroyed. Their orbital platforms were burning wreckage, and 3 Kithaeron worlds were free again. But Kate knew this was just the beginning. The real battle would be at the Kithaeron homeworld, where hundreds of enemy ships waited for them. "Signal the fleet," Kate ordered. "Set course for human space. We need every ship we can get for what's coming next." Commander Foster looked at the tactical reports with worry. "Admiral, even with reinforcements, we'll still be badly outnumbered at Kithaera Prime." Kate smiled, but her eyes were cold as space. "Then we'll just have to be more creative. The Zephyrians think they understand war because they can phase through our weapons. They're about to learn that humans have been fighting wars since before they left their caves." As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Kate thought about Veltar and her people. The Cathara had shown mercy to humans when they needed it most. Now humanity would show the galaxy what happened when someone threatened their friends. The Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake. They had started a war with a species that understood that sometimes the only answer to overwhelming force was even more devastating force. The space around Cathara Prime was filled with ships. Admiral Kate Sullivan had never seen so many vessels in one place. 93 human warships floated in formation, their hulls gleaming with fresh armor and new weapons. Volunteer ships from 6 different colonies had joined the fleet, their crews determined to help save the peaceful Cathara. But the enemy fleet was even larger. Over 400 Zephyrian vessels surrounded the beautiful blue-green world where the Cathara had lived in peace for thousands of years. Their ships formed perfect geometric patterns like a spider's web of death around the planet. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from the surface," reported the communication officer. "It's Military Commander Voran of the Catharan Defense Force." The image of a tall, dignified Catharan appeared on the main screen. His robes were military blue instead of the simple gray that most Cathara wore. His face showed both hope and desperation. "Admiral Sullivan," Voran said, "we are grateful that humanity has come to help us, but I must tell you honestly, we cannot win this battle with conventional tactics. The enemy has too many ships." Kate nodded. She had studied the tactical situation for days. The numbers were terrible. Even with human technology and strategy, the odds were against them. "Commander Voran, are you prepared to use every weapon you have?" Kate asked. "No holding back, no mercy for the enemy?" Voran's large, dark eyes showed pain, but his voice was steady. "The High Council has finally authorized me to fight without restrictions. We will use everything we have to defend our world." Jake Morrison was on the bridge of the Vengeance as a civilian advisor. Veltar stood beside him, her blue skin pale with worry as she watched the tactical displays. Her people's entire civilization hung in the balance. "Admiral," said Major Thompson from his station, "the Zephyrian fleet is moving into attack formation. Estimated time to engagement, 20 minutes. Kate looked around her bridge. Commander Foster was ready at the weapons station. Captain Carter had his finger over the firing controls. Lieutenant Molina was monitoring enemy communications. Everyone knew this battle would decide the fate of 2 civilizations. "All ships," Kate announced over the fleet communication system. "This is Admiral Sullivan. Today, we fight not just for the Cathara, but for every peaceful species in the galaxy. The Zephyrians believe that might makes right. They think fear makes them strong. Today, we show them that loyalty makes us stronger." The Zephyrian attack came, like a wave of metal and death. Hundreds of ships phased in and out of normal space, their weapons firing in perfect coordination. The space between the fleets filled with energy beams and missile trails. Captain Chen's destroyers met the first wave head-on. Her ship, the Fury, danced between enemy formations like a deadly ballet. Her crew had practiced these maneuvers for months, and it showed in their perfect timing. "Enemy ships are focusing on our left flank," Chen reported over the radio. "They're trying to break through to the planet." "Vengeance and Battle Group 3, move to support," Kate ordered. The massive battleship turned with surprising grace, its huge guns already charging for the next salvo. Captain Carter's weapon systems worked with deadly precision. The new quantum torpedoes tore through Zephyrian formations, each one finding its target despite the enemy's phase technology. But for every ship they destroyed, more seemed to take its place. The battle raged for hours. Human ships fought with desperate courage, using every trick and tactic they had ever learned. The Catharan vessels joined the fight, their advanced energy weapons adding to the devastating firepower. But slowly, the combined fleet was being pushed back. The Zephyrians had too many ships, and their coordination was perfect. Several human vessels were already lost, their crews dead in the cold vacuum of space. "Admiral," Major Thompson said urgently, "we need something to break their formation. At this rate, they'll overwhelm us through pure numbers." Kate turned to Veltar. "Is there anything your people haven't told us? Any weapon or technology that might help?" Veltar looked at Jake, then back at the Admiral. "There is something. Dr. Yelena, our best scientist, has been working on dimensional cascade technology. It could multiply the effects of your quantum torpedoes." Jake stepped forward. "What do you need?" "Time," Veltar said. and 27 of your fastest ships to coordinate the attack. Kate made her decision in seconds. Do it. All ships prepare for Operation Cascade. Working frantically, human engineers modified their quantum torpedoes with Kitharan dimensional technology. The process was dangerous and untested. If it failed, the weapons might explode in their own ships. Lieutenant Melina used her intelligence training to identify the exact position of the Zephyrian flagship deep within their formation. There, she said, pointing to the tactical display. The command ship is in the center, surrounded by their heaviest vessels. Captain Chen coordinated the attack run with precision that would have impressed any military academy. 27 human ships moved into position, their modified torpedoes ready to fire. All ships, fire on my mark, Kate ordered. She watched the tactical display with held breath. Everything depended on the next few seconds. Mark. 27 quantum torpedoes enhanced with Kitharan dimensional technology streaked toward the enemy flagship. When they hit, the results were beyond anything anyone had imagined. The dimensional cascade tore through space itself, creating rifts that spread from ship to ship. 73 Zephyrian vessels disappeared in the cascade, including their command ship. The perfect coordination of the enemy fleet suddenly collapsed, as their communication network failed. "Their formation is breaking apart," shouted Thompson. "Multiple enemy ships are retreating." But the battle was not over. The remaining Zephyrian ships fought with desperate fury, knowing their empire's future depended on victory. Some vessels surrendered when they realized their cause was hopeless. Others fled to distant systems. Many simply shut down as their hive-mind communication network collapsed. When the smoke cleared, the space around Kythera Prime was filled with wreckage from both fleets. The human losses were heavy, 18 ships destroyed, hundreds of brave men and women dead. But the Zephyrian threat was broken forever. 6 months later, representatives from 47 different species gathered on Kythera Prime. The Great Hall had been rebuilt after the battle, its crystal walls reflecting the light of the planet's twin suns. The Galactic Defense Compact was signed that day. Humans and Kythera would work together to protect peaceful species from aggressive empires. Other races asked to join, creating the first true alliance in galactic history. Veltar, restored to honor by a grateful High Council, now served as the first Kitharan ambassador to Earth. She stood with Jake Morrison as they watched construction begin on the first joint research station. Dr. Lisa Park had accepted a position as head of xenobiological sciences. She worked closely with Kitharan scientists to develop new medical treatments that could help both species. Admiral Sullivan addressed the assembled delegates in the Great Hall. Her uniform was decorated with honors from a dozen different worlds. "Today, we have learned that kindness creates debts that can move fleets," she said. "Honor demands that those debts be paid in full. The Zephyrians believed that fear made them strong. They discovered that loyalty makes others stronger." Jake found himself standing beside Veltar on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt city. Children from both species played together in the parks below, their laughter carrying on the warm breeze. "We showed humanity mercy when they needed it most," Veltar said quietly. "When we faced extinction, you showed us something far more powerful. You showed us what it means to keep faith with friends." Jake smiled as he watched the children playing. "The debt we thought you were owed became something greater than either of our species could achieve alone." In the gardens of New Haven Colony, human and Kitharan families worked side by side to build a better future among the stars. The favor that had begun with a simple act of mercy had become the cornerstone of galactic civilization. The war was over. The debt was paid, and the galaxy was a safer place because two species had learned that friendship was stronger than fear, and loyalty was more powerful than any weapon.